It was a nice fry.
I knew you wanted to sit by me too.
Get the special recording.
How's the vice chair?
Hey, gosh, I'm not as good as you.
Should I look at his sign right there and call him Mike and then he turn around and see who he is, you know?
It was sitting down, it must be Mike.
Yeah, no kidding. If you're sitting in that chair, you're Mike.
How are you? I'm the mayor's office. How about that?
That's the committee and
And the whole state?
the whole state.
How are you?
Good.
Did you enjoy the game the other night?
We did, yeah, well, absolutely my colors.
Did Darren?
Oh, we had a moment of silence. For the youths.
The Conference of Champions didn't hold up too well in the first and second round, did they?
Sad. Oregon's still in there.
Yep, Oregon's still in. 1 out of 7. And the ACC still got, they put 6 in, I believe, and they got 5 out of 6 are still in, so. I enjoy
Hey, good
watching
morning.
that.
How you doing?
I enjoy watching that. I could do that days on end.
Well, I'm lucky, man. You're
College
so you got to be
basketball.
around here.
Too. It's so much more fun to watch than
Oh, the pros, yeah, you bet.
No.
Is there an inside story there?
That's my dad's youngest brother. He's been out in Saratoga for a long time. He was one of the first.
Moved out there?
Oh, really?
No, I didn't. That
I
era.
can remember his going out to his property.
I thought, wow, that's so bright.
We're gonna have the Lowry call here. You start with something.
Yeah, that's.
I haven't seen him.
I'm gonna have to put a couple more people between these two guys. I can tell that, Mayor.
Well, actually, it was
I just know.
great cooperation.
I'm hoping. Does he have any kids named Mike or is it just
We got
Mike?
the warehouse built.
He's got a couple kids, but not named Mike.
Now we're getting ready to.
Is he, what does he do for a living? Is he educational?
Yeah.
Let's see. What kind of living?
Yep, National Guard,
Yeah.
education. That's the guy.
Same guy.
Magic Mike. Magic and music.
Uh-huh,
Ever seen
that's
that?
They were gonna have to.
Junior high, you know,
Yeah.
for a lot of years. Yeah, that's the same one.
He's a neat guy.
Boy, the kids love him.
That's what started the problem.
That was the last time I saw him. I lived in Cedar City before we moved up here. He was down there doing one of his shows in high school. So it's,
Big white shoulders.
That's okay. So RS 2477. Oh, did you?
You've left the legacy.
What time does it say it is?
Well, let's go right there's a clock right up there, and yeah, it's got about 15. So what time is it? Greenwich Village time here?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's 7:30 in the morning. Thank you for being with us this morning. I'm Mayor Hadfield of American Fork City, Chair of the Utah Lake Commission. I welcome you here this morning. Our action items this morning were to approve a consent agenda. That's the governing board minutes from November the 19th of 2015 and the November, December, January, and February financial reports. Has anyone had a chance to review those and would care to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mayor Thompson. Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. They will stand as presented.
I will actually abstain since I wasn't at those meetings and can't verify those minutes.
All right, let the record show that Saratoga Springs was not at the meeting and therefore cannot vote. Going into housekeeping items, present the technical committee representative list. Eric, please.
Okay.
we've been able to reach out to most of the communities and assure that we have a technical committee designation. And then maybe look through the governing board list as well and be sure that if there's any changes to that we are informed of that so that we can make those updates. So there's only a few cities now that we don't have a representative on the technical committee. For those of you that are new to the table, the technical committee right now is an important body as far as the water quality is concerned. We're doing a study on that with the Commission of Water Quality. And having someone that can represent the municipality on that front is helpful both for a data perspective as well as we move into the policy side of that to have a voice at the table on what this policy looks like going forward with TMDLs and so forth. So be sure if you don't have one on there right now that we have one assigned to have that anticipated on that.
All right. Action item number 4, governing board leadership nomination. You want to do this one too, Eric?
Well, I can, yes. So in our executive committee meeting, Robin Pearson was nominated to hold the position of vice chair of the governing board, and this is really a chair thing to do. But
all right.
Should we vote on that? Take a motion.
I think you gotta give a speech. I think I gotta abstain. No speeches are forthcoming.
What has normally happened in the past is the vice chair has served for a period of time with the chair, and as the chair moves on, then the vice chair moves up to become the chair. Mayor Wilson, as you know, in the past year has been the chair. I was the vice chair. The year changed, and Mayor Wilson moved on to emeritus status, and I became the chair. And this will happen in a year from now when
2 years
Robin,
from now.
2 years. 2 years?
2 years.
Okay. Wow. How time flies.
Mr. Chair, in that realm, and I would make a motion that we approve Robin Pearson as the vice chair.
Second.
Thank you for that motion, Commissioner Ellertson, and seconded by Mayor Wilson. I'll call for a vote. On favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. You're railroad successful.
I missed the meeting.
We still need that speech, Robin.
It just goes to show you, don't miss a meeting and you'll find yourself in a leadership position. That's what
We don't call you DNRG for nothing, man. You've been
right.
railroaded, you know.
We have before us an item this morning for a notice to proceed with the Nature Center site plan and site analysis contract. Several of us sat on a selection committee. We put it out for the notice of work. We had 6 very highly qualified candidates submit their applications. We had a committee that screened those 6 applications, cut it down to 3, and then we had face-to-face presentation with the 3 candidates. We were very happy that we had the quality of the architects, engineers, designers that we did, and after a long and difficult process, we chose PEC, Project Engineering Consultants Limited, to do the Nature Center design and look at some potential sites for us. We have before us this morning that contract and would like to issue a notice to proceed with them. Is there an action? Is there a motion to proceed with this?
Motion to proceed.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson. Do I have a second on that one?
Second.
Commissioner Ellertson, thank you for the second. Any questions on this motion? It was an interesting process as we went through to see the different ideas, and I learned a lot, as many of us did. We felt very good about the group that we chose, and look forward to working with this in the future. So with that motion and second, I'll call for a vote to approve the notice to proceed with the Nature Center site plan and analysis for Utah Lake Nature Center. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We're moving right along. We have a public hearing now as to present and approve the tentative 2017 budget. Copy of that is in your packets this morning. Eric, would you care to lead us through the budget for 2017, please?
Sure. So as we look through the budget for 2017, let's pull it up real quick. You'll notice most everything has stayed essentially as it was last year. We did a 1.5% on the wages, just to be sure that we've got a buffer there. This year we were a little bit under budget on that, just as far as our projections are concerned. Presumably we will be there next year, but just to account for any minor changes there, we added that. As you go down the list, most everything's staying the same. We had a slight change in office supplies, just to increase that back a little closer to what it had been a full year ago. We dropped postage. If everyone's okay, historically a lot more information was mailed out to the group, and we're doing that a lot more in email now. That seems like a natural progression, so we're doing that. So occasionally there are things we still need to mail, so we kept a little bit of a budget there. Accounting services, the rule changed last year and omitted groups like ours that have a budget under, I think, $350,000 to require that accounting service. And so we dropped that one out of the budget. If that rule changes, we can add it back in, but for now, it was just sitting there the last 2 years unused. So
Is that for an audit, or what is it?
it's just for end of year accounting. So at this point, we simply do a self-evaluation that's issued through the state auditor's office. Other things remaining the same. One change that we made is that we reduced the amount on our capital projects fund from $20,000 to $10,000. Last year, a rule changed through the legislature that required entities like ours to only have a maximum of 25% of our annual revenue carrying over from year to year in our general fund. And so our capital projects fund was super funded. At the end of 2015, we added all of that excess from our general fund into the capital projects fund. And so we're reducing it for the next couple of years since it's grown more than we expected that last year. And we're putting some more into, I put $7,000 into invasive species control. I've noticed that over this last year there's been a number of projects that have potential cleanup areas near developing neighborhoods where a little bit of funding like that can go a long way. And so we put some more back into that. 2 years ago there had been $10,000 in there. Last year that fund didn't get used. This year we see a great demand for it, so we're putting it back in. And otherwise, we're at 0.34%, smaller of a budget this year than we were last year.
Good report. Would anyone like to make a comment regarding the tentative budget for the 2017 year?
Can I ask a question? Maybe Brian would know this, but Phragmites, you know a little bit of Phragmites removal. How much of our state money that we do with Phragmites removal comes down to Utah Lake versus Great Salt Lake and other areas?
So Phragmites comes through the Watershed Restoration Initiative. This year we applied for $107,000, and it looks like it will move ahead. It was ranked really high in the central region, and it just needs to be finalized through their final ranking process. We appreciate that.
Well, that's
This year, that goes much farther than you think. So that gives us about $300,000 worth of Phragmites work through the county and other partners. So it's leveraged out, and that's 2,300 acres that we're doing this year, more than twice what we have done in the last couple of years. So, and that finishes it up. We'll talk a little bit more about it later, but yeah, it's a big one.
So is,
I think for clarification, that last statement that you just kind of run right through is pretty significant in terms of finishing up.
Agreed, and that's why I said we'll talk more about it because it's one of the agenda items. But you'll be excited to hear how how the progress has come along on that. Sorry for cutting
No,
you
no,
off.
you're good.
Eric, Laura also just motioned to me that this fiscal year, 30,000 is coming from the division to support the efforts.
Yeah, we just did an MOU with Utah County, 15,000 now, and I think we'll do 15,000 after July 1st. So it's
Okay.
7 years, or more.
So it looks like ours is going more so to the county than through the commission.
We are super excited about the help.
Yeah.
We're just jumping ahead because we were going to brag about it in our video and everything in the video. But thank you to Forestry Fire State Lands. Last year we had a great deal of support from Forestry Fire State Lands and through the legislature. And again this year. So.
Any other comment regarding the tentative budget for 2017? Hearing none, we'll close the public comment portion of the meeting, and we will act to approve the tentative budget for 2017. Is there a motion to approve? Mayor Farnworth, motion to approve the budget for 2017 for Utah Lake Commission. Is there a second?
So I'll second the motion to approve the tentative budget.
All right. Very good.
Or to tentatively approve the tentative budget.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll call for vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We're moving right along, Eric. Report from the technical committee, Reed Price and Mike Mills. I don't see Reed here. Is Mike here?
Reed just snuck in.
Oh, Reed snuck in.
Yeah.
How are you? You want arm wrestle?
Go ahead.
The technical committee met last week, talking about various issues. There's a lot of them that I see that are on the agenda that Eric and others will be talking about. So to keep my comments brief, I thought that the technical committee continues to be active. I would encourage each of you to determine who your technical committee members are and to touch base with them on occasion to see their thoughts of how the commission is moving forward. Sometimes we get great participation, and other times we wonder if people remember the technical committee can provide a valuable service to the commission and to you as board members. So please look to see who your members are and communicate with them. Probably the most valuable part of the meeting was at the very end when everyone had comments. We had several communities who had questions that the technical committee members were able to discuss amongst themselves and offer ideas. In particular were some development concerns at American Fork. Nestor Gallo was there and wanted to know what resources there were so that he could better understand how to inform the council of what their options are. Another was Saratoga Springs, as they are moving forward with a shoreline specific ordinance and plan to develop that shoreline. These different, those are just a couple of examples of how the technical committee can offer feedback and advice because it's a wide range of experiences and those people that serve there can be a great resource. So that's just in short what we as a technical committee have been focusing on. And as you can see, we also met in January, and as you can see, I was quickly voted into a leadership position in that. I'm glad to continue to be involved.
Reed, was you at the meeting?
I was at the meeting.
Works both ways then.
So I look forward to continuing to work with the commission and helping it to move forward. So if you have any questions.
Question, if I may. Did I understand it? Do we have representatives from most of the members?
Each member should,
That's what I'm getting at. If you don't have one, you should get one.
I thought I saw on the agenda that there was,
There was a
There's a
list.
list in your packet there, Commissioner, on this towards the back
There
there
are
somewhere.
6 right now that we don't have representation from.
I would encourage,
The budget package.
each member should have one representative. There are a few extra representatives from DNR, as DNR has their administrative position as well as Forestry, Fire, and State Lands, but also Division of Water Resources and DWR also have representatives. Those are all spelled out in the interlocal agreement, but the more active the technical committee is, the better work the commission is able to do. And sometimes it just needs a little bit of prodding from the board members to ensure that they, as the vice chair, I would like to see the technical committee be as active as possible. So my request is that the board communicate with their technical committee members and request that they actively participate. Any other questions?
Thank you for that report, Reed. Anything you want to add, Mike?
No.
Happy to have you both here this morning. Thank you very much. We'll turn the time to our director, Eric Ellis, and he'll cover several items regarding our lake.
Okay, so again, thanks for having me here. We have some exciting news, things happening down on the lake. So let's work through these. Lake level is up. When we were down, we had a public advisory board or committee meeting, group meeting, just a couple days ago when we had the windstorm. And I looked into the Inner Harbor and it looked like it was completely full. Later that afternoon, an individual came that was doing some work on the north end of the lake that informed me he had his guys out on boats in floating water, and when that windstorm came up, their boats went high and dry, and it actually dropped the lake 2 feet at the north end and pushed that water over to our corner. So while the harbor looked like I thought we had gained a flood of water, it was simply that the lake was lopsided for the day. But we're up to 4.5 feet below compromise right now. So it's come up.
You know, that's kind of a conflict in terms, we're up to below.
Well, full, we're more than halfway full. Just 4.5 feet below compromise. We were down almost to 6 feet below compromise at our lowest point in the fall last year. So that's good news. Lincoln Beach is a project that has been proposed through a Wounded Warriors group. They're working with our county and as many sponsors as they can find, working on putting together a Wounded Warrior / Hero Park at Lincoln Beach. It would have a memorial, and then they would also operate a program out of that county-owned facility that would take wounded warriors, some of our public servants, police officers, and firefighters, take them and their families out through fishing and things like that. They're a group that has a program up in Flaming Gorge and possibly in a couple other locations that have been really popular as a therapy for these individuals and a way to honor them. So we're working on that slowly. Do you have any more information on that right now, Commissioner?
I would just say that there are some challenges, but we're attempting to work through it. Challenges in the fact that there's a pretty solid bottom in that section right now, and it's not as easy as just pulling a dredge through it. It's probably going to involve.
They're hoping to deepen the existing marina area so that it'll be easier to launch. At low lake levels, it's been dredged before, and they come to hard hand about a foot below what it is now, so there's not a lot of wiggle room to increase that, but when the lake's full, it would be a perfect location for such a project.
And they're a good group to work with, very energetic, and and I expect we'll find a way to accommodate them. That's just-
Good.
They're good Spanish Fork people.
Sandy Beach is another that I think we've discussed previously. This is a project that the county is pursuing that we're really excited about. It'll improve the road out to Sandy Beach. It isn't just the county that's interested in that. Spanish Fork is working with us through a state grant from last year to do a trail alignment that would take their community trail from I-15 out to Sandy Beach. So I think that both will happen at a very beneficial time as that beach gets improved. They're going to add a parking lot and restrooms, kind of control the access down there so that it can be a cleaner environment. And then Forestry Fire and State Lands is working on acquiring some property from the Nature Conservancy down there, about 30 acres. And with kind of a combination of that, will allow us to get conservation crew workers down there, clean up some of there's a lot of invasive brush through there that makes it a bit of a jungle and hard for our law enforcement officers to monitor it. But it'll clean that up and make it a place that's very community friendly. Through the state, we were able to get a half of the funding for that this year. $250,000, so it's about a $500,000 project. I didn't hear that it didn't get funded, so I think it got funded.
Thank you.
Good job, Mike.
Yeah.
It was these guys. Brian, he put it in the budget.
Yeah, we simply made the ask. Thank you for funding it.
Well, thanks to you too.
So it's fun when we can see those partnerships between the state and our local communities to get some of these big projects done. And we look forward to that one.
Eric,
Yes.
if I may, Laura, some afternoon when you want to get out of Salt Lake a little bit early, if we could schedule a meeting. I've had a conversation with a property owner whom you know
Yes.
in that vicinity, and his belief is that he owns more than I think we think he owns. And so it would be good maybe if we could take another look at what we have in terms of ownership and just make sure we understand. If we can do that.
We can do that.
Utah Lake State Park, as you all know, master plan was created through Provo City, a partnership with Provo City, Forestry Fire and State Lands, the commission, and that study was completed some time ago. It moved into the economic feasibility portion of that, and there's a meeting coming up to where I think that they'll be presenting. Jason, do you know, are they planning to present that?
Yes, I believe it's here about 3 weeks.
Okay. And so they had a preliminary meeting, and then this will allow us to know how feasible that is and what kind of impact it'll have on the community. That would be to do some major improvements down at the state park, adding to Sandy Beach. They phased it so that we'll be able to do it in a digestible way, those expansion ideas that were presented. But we're very excited to hear what they have to say as far as the feasibility of that. In addition to that, dredging is the dredging of the inner harbor, and at a minimum the inner harbor and the channel leading out is moving ahead. JUB Construction is putting together the RFP right now and working to get permits through the Army Corps of Engineers. And we look forward to that. It'll probably happen, start up towards the end of the summer. There's a window that we have to work through. We either have to be in there and have the bay locked off by April 1st, or we wait until August 1st to get that done so that it doesn't impact spawning, some of the spawning fish, June sucker and others. And so more than likely it'll happen towards the end of the summer when not as much activity is taking place down at the lake. So we look forward to that getting done. Yes?
Can I ask one question? I had a constituent of mine that reached out to me and asked why we're not just chaining the harbor. And I didn't have a good response. I guess with spawning, I could see the concern, but he was absolutely convinced that we could chain it a lot easier. I know when we put the money in, I looked at the proposal and it seemed fine to me, but why can't we chain? And
there's one individual that it might be the same fellow. It's a drag line, but they drag a bucket. I think we're pretty open to how the process. JUB Engineering is putting together the proposal, but we're going to take applications from whomever and view those and make sure that we accept those that'll do the job, do it right, and fit within the Army Corps permit that has been applied for. So hopefully we can do something like that, because he also suggested he can do it for a lot less, and we might be able to stretch those dollars and get the outer harbor done and do it all in one project. So we look forward to getting those proposals back so we can entertain them. Yesterday, we met at the state park with Jason Allen and some others, and there's a lot happening down there. We have an individual that's just barely came in at the end of last year that started up a paddleboard rental, and that's ramping up this year. We're going to sponsor a couple events, some races down at the lake, and combine those with some other activities with some s'mores nights. And I think that as that comes in, and then next year we have the cable park venue open up, as long as we get our dredge done, I think that it's going to be a really popular destination on the lake. And we see those types of projects coming in around the lake as well through American Fork Boat Harbor, Saratoga Springs. And as we get more of those developed, I think the communities are going to get more and more excited about what the lake is and what it has to offer. And we're slowly getting rid of that old perception of it just the negative side of it. So we're excited about that. It was fun to hear the paddleboard rental owner be as excited as he was. He said, I just came from California. When people complain about the smell or the look of the lake, I tell them about this lake down in California, where it is one of the most popular water ski lakes, and it's a mud lake. But people love it. They appreciate the humongous flat surface of it, and few lakes can compare to Utah in that way. So we're excited about the energy that's coming into play. Phragmites removal. Let's go into that a little bit. So this year we applied for 2,300 and some odd acres of Phragmites removal to get it sprayed with the county. It'll be Provo Bay, so that that'll be very visible from the freeway as people come up through. That bay has been invaded for quite some time now. We'll get that taken care of, and then also just to the north of Utah Lake State Park, up through Powell Slough, is the last of the two remaining areas to complete the first full go-around of the lake. So 7,000 acres will have been completed, which is huge. I don't think that there was an expectation that this would be getting finished on the first round of treatments this soon. Along with those treatments, we do spot treatments because there's a portion that regrows every year. Saratoga Springs, they see it every day, so they're very aware of that. But we were able to get in there and retreat where it's coming back, and that'll be an ongoing project, but it's exciting to have done the first full sweep of the lake so that it's a maintenance thing rather than a completely invaded shoreline. We're working with Vineyard, the town of Vineyard, on a private development, which is exciting. We're helping them clean up two areas that they're going to add 2 beaches and a shoreline pathway and a community park. Once that development is completed, they'll deed it back to the city, and the trail might end up being county, but we'll have a brand new beach area for the lake, so a new access point, and fun that the work on that gets done through a private entity. Saratoga Springs partnered with the county. We helped them put together a partnership so that they could get the historic canal cleaned out. And that project will happen start here in the next couple weeks, towards the end of the month. And we're going to combine that with a news thing. The town of Vineyard is helping us do a major cleanup. We're going to get as many lakeside communities as we can to do not just garbage, but just cleanup. We'll have news down there, and they're going to come take a look as we do that canal removal. The county's going to rent a bobcat that has a mulcher on it, and burn through that canal and see if we can get the whole thing cleared out in just a couple of weeks. So very excited about that.
Question on that canal, does it have any real significance to today, other than the historical value of it?
And there's, yeah, we don't talk about the historical value because it doesn't exist.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to get to here.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, there's no use.
But is it state-owned then, the canal, or who owns the canal?
The boundary line generally runs the middle of the canal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Saratoga Springs have been working for years to get that just pushed back so that it's no longer a retention basin kind of along the edge of the lake. And I think that they're making progress with that. It requires a lot of Army Corps permitting and mitigation and things.
But there are some places where that portion of that canal has been pushed in by landowners and filled.
Yes.
It's kind of like a mosquito trap,
And
is
they
it
kind of
not?
got in trouble.
It is. It holds water.
Really in trouble.
And it also is, historically, I mean, it's filled with tamarisk and Russian olives, so it's just a wall between the lakeside and...
Right.
That's also where we've had our cougar hide, which is fun. The cougar come down in there and take out pets and.
Did you say that's your wildlife nature preserve?
Yes.
So it'll be fun to get that cleared out.
It'd be great.
Right now, with our field trips, we take the kids up to where the removal has ended and show them just how bad invasive species can be, and then show them before where it's been treated and say this is how nice it can look. So we'll have to think of something new to talk about, but we're excited to get it cleared out.
Hopefully they won't be there anymore.
We work with Forestry, Fire, and State Lands. We work a lot with Forestry, Fire, and State Lands. Thank you, Brian and Laura. They have helped us develop a best practices for private landowners to remove invasives on their own. A lot of individuals don't want to wait until the county can come along and get it done, or until we've formed an agreement with the city. And so that was just drafted yesterday. We have a copy of it we'll send out to all of you. And that could be shared with private landowners. So it just gives them the guidelines of how to go through. They get a permit through Forestry, Fire, and State Lands, and they have to hire a certain type of tree service to address it, but it allows them to get that done on their own, whereas previously they just were waiting until it happened when someone else could get it done for them. We're excited about that. Let's show a quick video. I apologize, it's not nearly as loud as it should be, but take a look at it. We've got a 5-minute version, a 2-minute version, and a 30-second version that we'll be using for social media. We'll share it with Watershed Preservation Initiative and all of our partners so that it can be used as a promotional tool for how successful the lake has been. This is the 2-minute version, so keep it simple, but you'll have to be real quiet.
Utah's Watershed Restoration Initiative improves about 100,000 acres a year statewide, and that's a big number. And Utah Lake is one of those habitats that we focus on because it's so important.
With the Phragmites effort that will continue to be maintained, that allows for access points for people to come and enjoy the lake. We expect that there will be some wildlife reestablishment in and around the lake.
We've seen an increased use in the lake shore. We've seen the public start to use the lake shore in the various different beaches that we've been able to open up.
I think one of the largest concerns with Phragmites that people have is the fire danger. We have just a huge barrier of Phragmites clear along the shore of our association. There's 1 or 2 access points. Now there's many.
This year we will complete the first treatment of all of the areas around the lake. This will include and bring it to a total of around 7,000 acres that have been treated. And afterward, there will be ongoing continuing maintenance to keep the Phragmites from reoccurring.
This is very important that we continue this process. A lot of agencies have invested a lot of time and effort into removing Phragmites along the shoreline. We're at that critical point where we can really start to see success in our project. Our costs are going to go down at this point because we're in that maintenance mode and really be able to see see the benefits of all of this effort we've done for the last 7 years. We believe that it's an asset, a gem as it were, and we hope to continue to be able to work toward improving and making it even better.
So thank you for Commissioner and others for helping us put that together. We'll share the 3 different links as they're completed. The 5-minute link had a little error last night when it got sent to me, so that's why we're sticking with the 2 for now. But when those are all completed, we'll get those shared out so that if you have an opportunity in the presentation or what have you, you can use those as a tool for what's being done down here. Carp removal, another one of the biggest efforts on the lake. We were really excited this year. We put together a request to fund the second to last year of full-scale commercial funding. The legislature came through and awarded $450,000 of state contribution to that. We have an additional $300,000 that's coming through the Mitigation Commission, and that will fund. Mike, how long will that take us?
Just to correct, the money that's non-state is coming from the Bureau of Reclamation.
Oh, Bureau of Reclamation.
Right now, that should put us pretty good funding-wise through about June 2017, so a little over a year from now.
Awesome. Yeah. And do you know, are we at 21 and a bit now?
Yeah, we are about 21.5 million pounds that have been removed since, that's going all the way back to September 2000. So it's been a long effort. Our winter fishing season wasn't as productive as we probably would have liked, basically due to the ice conditions that were never really suitable for large-scale fishing. We did manage to remove some fish in January and also in February. And then we've been going really strong all 3 months of March. Things are progressing.
We had an individual from the LDS Church approach us about kind of partnering with this refugee community so that they could get some fish that they could sell to the youth could get some of the carp to sell to their community. I guess where they come from, carp is something that they love. And they asked about how many they could get a day, and I said, well, they pull about 14,000?
The daily average is about 22,000.
22,000 pounds, and jaw drop, and we just need about 300 fish. And so we work with Bill Lloyd, and he's happy to share with them, and so a fun little development for a use on the side for those fish.
Perception.
The prediction, and it's being verified through a study that's being funded right now, is that 1 more year will be needed of funding after this year's funding gets used, and then they'll be able to switch to a maintenance mode on that as well. So we're excited to see some of these major projects coming to a full scale into a maintenance mode. It's pretty exciting that those monster endeavors can actually be completed or move into that next phase. We are hosting again this year spring and fall field trips. The spring field trip is the larger of the two, so we have 4 days where we'll host 1,280 students, or the number that we've approved for the sponsorship. We're very grateful. We have volunteers coming from many of the divisions and from numerous communities. It's one of the funnest times of the year to have all of those little 4th graders down there at the lake. Excited to be outside and learning. This year, I think we're just a little over what we had last year. We've opened 1 more day in the fall because of the overwhelming response that we had from the west side of the lake, from the schools in the West Alpine District. So hopefully that'll allow a few more to get down, and we'll probably have 600 students this year. So that's exciting. And we also have the festival. I don't have it on the agenda here, but we have the Utah Lake Festival this year. And I wanted to invite, it's on June 4th from 10 o'clock until 2 p.m. But I wanted to invite the governing board to come down. It came up in our recent meeting to have, we would like to host a breakfast just before that begins and take you all out on some boats so that you can see, because we have projects happening right down around the lake. If we take you out, we'll be able to show you what we're doing in the Powell Slough and give you a hands-on experience of what's happening down there and talk a little bit about the expansion project of the lake, of the state park. So June 4th, if you were to show up at 9, that would give us time to do a quick breakfast and then load you onto a number of different boats that we'll be organizing from between now and then to take you out and get a look at some of these projects. So mark that on your calendars, and we look forward to having you there. That festival this year should have, we're adding a couple venues to make it that much more exciting. We're going to get, again, more sand down there so that the beach is that much more established. It should be a lot of fun. So if you haven't been there, or if you have, you can vouch for it. It's a lot of fun. We get close to 4,000 people out to the lake, and it's a great time to show people what we have to offer there. The Bonneville School of Sailing hosts a regatta at the same time as the Lake Festival, so people get to see the sailboats out there. We'll have sailboat, little tiny sailboats in the outer harbor, and paddle boats or paddle boards on the inner harbor that will be demos for anyone and everyone to use. So it should be a great opportunity to get people not just to see the lake, but also get out on it and experience it. We'll have the big flat bottom boats taking large groups out, just out of the marina and onto the lake so that they get a view of the mountains and behind and so forth. So we're excited about that and hope to see all of you there. I'm going to have Luke talk a little bit about our communication strategy.
All right, so now that the weather is getting warmer, we know a lot more people will be out at the lake, which of course, unfortunately, means there's going to be more gardeners out there. So this is the first year we're going to finally be able to establish our Adopt a Shoreline program. Until now, we've been doing a few cleanup projects every year, and we've been able to get a handle on where people go the most and where the most trash will accumulate. So we have 3 groups that have committed to participate in this program this year. The LDS Earth Stewardship, the Saratoga Springs HOA, and the Bow Fishing Girls Club. So the areas we're going to be focusing on this first year are Sandy Beach, Vineyard Beach, and Inlet Park. We're going to hope to get a couple more organizations to sign up in the next month or so and assign them to some of the smaller areas. So they'll commit to cleaning up. We'll commit to cleaning up 3 times a year at those spots and keep it clean. As Eric mentioned, we're coordinating with Vineyard to do a big, Vineyard and some other cities to do a big cleanup project that will be on April 23rd. So we're going to get started really strong this spring and get everything clean, and hopefully through the program we can maintain it throughout the summer. And I'll also talk about the photo contest. Alan's Camera every year has helped us with the photo contest that's going on right now. The details are all available on utalake.gov. It's still in the top schools on there, so get the word out to your communities. There's lots of great photographers here in the county that love to get out to the lake. It's one of the best spots to take pictures, and then they can submit the photos, and the winners will be displayed. Well, all the photos will be displayed at the Utah Lake Festival, and the winners will be set up here at these meetings, and as well as our legislative event that we do every fall. And Eric mentioned the festival. We're really excited for it. We're going to try some new things to kind of expand it, to cover more of the park, get people out more towards the lake and out there interacting with the lake. That's good. What we have coming up the next few months as far as community outreach, communications, and things like that. So we're really excited.
Good report. Thank you, Luke. Eric, you want to talk about Convention and Visitor Bureau?
Yeah, just a couple other things. So we're working with the Convention and Visitor Bureau. They are attending with one of our county commissioners, not Commissioner Ellison, but they're attending an association gathering out in the Midwest here in the first week of April, where they'll be entertaining offers from a wide spectrum of associations, water ski associations, motorized boat races, racing associations, things like that. fishing associations, where they'll attempt to draw in some of these big tournaments down here to the lake. And so I've been working with our CVB representative that's going to be attending that, and he's excited and going to line up as many meetings with those types of organizations as he can, so that we can start getting some of the bigger events happening down on the lake, some of the fishing tournaments and so forth. So we'll have a report at our next meeting on how that went and what we can look forward to. Usually those are at least a year out, but it's a great time to be planning with an event like that. So really quick, I've had the opportunity to go out to a couple of the community organizations and do a presentation on the lake. The Utah Sons of Pioneers had me come out and do a history of the lake and then tie that into what's happening today. Also able to go to the Bonneville School of Sailing. They do a seminar, just an educational seminar on a regular basis. Went and spoke with them. If there are opportunities like that, I'm happy to come out and tell people about the lake. It's exciting what's happening there, and a lot of times the community members don't know what's happening down there. They don't understand our restoration projects or what they're for, what we're aiming for. And so it's been fun to get out and speak to these groups, and they're very engaging in the conversation and have lots of history, and they're excited to hear that some of the stuff that they remember, especially the Sons of Pioneers, a lot of them had been on that paddle boat where they go out and did the dinner cruises, and they were super excited when they hear that some of these same projects and venues are coming back to the lake. And so it's nice to tie that together in a community way. So let me know if there's more of those opportunities. It's fun to get out and talk with those types of groups. Should we move to the presentations rather than just going to the schedule?
All right, very, very well. We'll move to item 10, the presentations of the Provo River Delta Restoration Project and the water quality assessment on Utah Lake.
Thank you. My name is Mark Holden. I work with the Utah Reclamation, Mitigation, and Conservation Commission. It's good to be here again. It's been a couple of years probably since we've given you an update on this project, so looking forward to that, being able to share with you an update as to where we are. As Eric gets that up and going, many of you recall that we started into planning for this project in earnest in 2009, and it's a public initiation of public meetings and got off to a start, and we were able to issue our final environmental impact statement in April of last year, and we issued records of decision, both our agency and the Department of the Interior, in May 2015. So moving forward, hopefully this will come on in just a sec. To mention that the joint lead agencies on this project that have worked on the environmental impact statement with us are the Department of the Interior, Central Utah Project Completion Act Office here in Provo, and the Central Utah Water Conservancy District also. And it's a project that's in partnership with the June Sucker Recovery Program, and I think most of you have some familiarity with that effort too. As I indicated, our records of decision were issued in May of last year, and the selected project to go forward with was alternative B for the Delta Restoration component and option 2 for addressing the existing Provo River channel and corridor. Just as a reminder, the main purpose for the project was to implement some measures that are required in the June Sucker Recovery Plan. June Sucker, endangered fish in Utah Lake, spawns in the Provo River, And there's a lack of habitat that's suitable for the young fish to make it through their first year or two of life. And that's been the limiting factor to this population for a number of years. We also have as objectives to provide compatible recreational improvements and opportunities associated with the project, give the public an opportunity to experience the Delta in its restored condition, and also will be delivering additional water downstream into the lower Provo River in the future as part of the June Sucker Recovery Program. This is the project area for Alternative B, just to locate folks. This is Utah Lake State Park that we talked about. Center Street here, Lakeshore Drive right here. This is the outlined in red, the area that's been selected for us to do the project within. Essentially what it will consist of is constructing a new channel for the Provo River.
Mark, can I ask you to like move just outside this circle or something so we can see in this corner?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's
Trying to keep you in the dark.
If there's, oh, it's a smaller board, sorry about that.
You're on the other side.
No, you're just moving around a little bit.
We're just moving around maybe,
Just
yeah.
from
That
time
would
to
be fine.
Okay.
Thanks. I didn't realize your cord was so short, sorry.
Sure. The project will involve relocating the portion of the Provo River. It's going to require designing these segments to provide good spawning habitat for the June sucker. And of course, the main objective is to construct and provide environments down in this region that will provide good habitat for the June sucker and other fishes on an annual basis. This diagram just indicates when Utah Lake is at compromise of 4489, this is the elevation where we expect the water to come up into based on the contours of the area. This portion of the Utah Lake dike and trail will be removed. There would be a new dike constructed along the south boundary of the project to keep the lake waters from accessing these remaining private lands. This is a close-up view of where we propose to divert the existing river channel into the new delta area. And I wanted to point out that there is going to be a minimum flow that will be provided into this existing Provo River channel. As we went through a public involvement process and met with landowners and public users, we loudly and strongly, they emphasized to us how important this trail system and the experiences they have along the lower Provo River are to them. And so we've committed to do everything possible to not only maintain those uses, but to enhance those uses through the project. One feature that the project includes is to construct a small dam on the downstream end of the Provo River, somewhere in this vicinity. And the purpose of that will be to help stabilize water elevations in this portion of the river channel. As many of you know, Utah Lake fluctuates several feet on an annual basis. That fluctuation then also occurs in these lower reaches of the Provo River. This is actually at high elevations, a backwater of the lake. And so by constructing a dam here, we'll be able to maintain the water elevations at a constant level through this upper reach of the river. And that will help promote some additional recreational opportunities.
Does that have some type of fish ladder so the June sucker can spawn up there?
No. In fact, it purposely will not, because we no longer want the June sucker to come up into this region's point. We want them to come up the new channel. Okay.
Will there be some kind of portage access for non-motorized vessels?
Yes.
Paddleboards, kayakers, so they can still recreate
Yes.
in that area?
Yeah. And as we move forward into the final design, we'll coordinate very closely with the state park, with you, and with others, county and Provo City.
Mark,
Yeah.
maybe you're going to cover this, but On the history of this, when did it get changed to the current alignment? Do you have that history?
Parts of it were channelized as early as the 1940s. Going back and looking at some of the aerial photographs, there are portions of it that have been channelized back then. That we found that the first dike to kind of wall off or dike off, if you will, Skipper Bay, this area up in here used to be called Skipper Bay. And the first evidence we found of a dike to be constructed out there was 1921. And then, of course, the dike along the lake was further built up, I think in the 50s, and then it was added to in the 80s during following the high water events, yeah. And so there is quite a history out there.
And the early pictures that you have, do they, in terms of what the delta will look like, I assume some of that's gone into what you know now.
Yeah, the natural condition down there was more of a meandering channel with a lot of, looked like willow vegetation primarily. Of course, as you've heard about today, Phragmites is a concern currently around the margins of the lake. But it used to be primarily a willow habitat.
Thank you.
The minimum flow that will be provided to the channel, minimum of 10 CFS, and depending on the flow in the river, may go up as high as 50 cubic feet per second, which is a pretty substantial flow. It's going to provide a good flow through for the new channel, or for the existing channel down there. One of the issues that we currently experience in the lower Provo River is that in some years, the lower river essentially goes dry or almost dry due to diversions upstream. The water quality in the lower Provo River then can really degrade, and fish kills can result, odor. It's an unsightly situation. So one of the things that we've committed to do is to install an aeration system in the existing channel of the lower Provo River. And that will help substantially with that odor and health problem and prevent fish kills and things like that. So that's another commitment that we made. As I mentioned, recreation opportunities, that's a big thing. The restored delta area will provide some new fishing and boating opportunities. The existing channel and all the trails, we'll be constructing additional trails and tying into the existing trails. We've added the potential for equestrian use based on some public input we've received, and we'll work closely with Utah County and Provo City as we enter into the final design to determine if that's something that the county and Provo City want to see developed down there.
Mark, I just want it known that it was some voices other than mine on that.
Thank you. Come back to this slide for a second to point out just a few of the recreational opportunities. I mentioned this trail on the north side of the river, very popular. We're going to make sure that stays connected. The project will require relocating a portion of Gulf Harbor Drive, approximately like this. There will be trail constructed all along the new berm that's going to be constructed to establish the south margin of the project. And that trail will connect in right here to the existing trail along Utah Lake. We will work with the county to make some improvements on this connection here, where currently people have to walk across or through the road and parking lot to get to this segment of trail. We'll try to work with the county to make that a better and safer junction right there. But that would establish a loop trail possibility for people to go in that direction. There'll be a parking area that will provide for non-motorized boating within the new Delta area. We'll have another parking area down in here. This is one that we can design to include equestrian capability if that's what the county and Provo City decide they would like to see as well. Yes.
As far as the Lake Shore Trail continuing on to the north of Vineyard and all around, are you prepared to show us how you anticipate that will be routed?
Yes. Of course, this segment of the trail on top of the dike terminates right here, right now.
Right.
It doesn't proceed any further. This portion of the dike and trail will largely be removed to enable the bay system to be developed. We intend to construct a viewing tower out on this end, and you can see on this map the faint outline of the proposed Provo Lakeview Parkway. And we've coordinated quite extensively with Provo City through the years as we plan this project. And when they build that project, it will include a trail along the west side. And so that will additionally connect into our trail system here and a trail system, a connecting trail that we'll construct here on the north end of the project as well.
And then we could continue. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then from there, I think maybe Greg could address it, but the plan for the trail would be to continue along the parkway beyond that point?
The intent is there will be a trail along the west side of Lakeview Parkway, and at some point it will connect back into the Lakeshore Trail somewhere in Orem, and where that occurs relative to the Powell Slough and the golf course and whatnot, I'm not sure it's been specifically
But
defined.
it's planned that there will be a connection going on there.
Yes.
Thank you.
Excuse me, long-term management. The land would be acquired by the USA. Our agency is taking the lead on that. We will primarily be responsible and the primary funder for developing the project over the next 5 to 6 years, with support from the June Sucker Recovery Program, which, as many of you know, consists of not only federal but state and local entities on that. We'll be looking to develop an agreement into the future, so long-term, the land would be managed by state or local agencies in combination. So it will be turned over for local management. There would be ongoing support provided through the June Sucker Recovery Program after this initial development period, during which the commission will provide, our commission will provide funding for these things. Weed control, mosquito control, monitoring and mitigation of any aircraft or bird strike risk that may be established as a result of the project, managing and delivering the water supply, the aeration program, and of course monitoring how successful the project is in providing the habitat that the June Sucker need and meeting the recovery objective. And the working model is that once we construct these rec facilities, trails, trailheads, parking, things like that, they would be turned over to the county or Provo City, depending on where they're located, for their long-term ongoing management. Where we are so far, we're in this phase of the project. Pains me to report a little bit that it's taking as long as it is to get our appraisals completed so we can have our discussions with the landowners. It's frustrating to them. It's been frustrating to us as well, but we are moving ahead, and we expect to have appraisals in hand by the end of the summer that will enable us to begin, that process of negotiating to acquire the properties.
So a question on that. So you have the plan in place, but we don't know yet if those homeowners will agree, or those landowners will agree to the sale of their properties.
Well, actually, we've spent a good couple of years working with the landowner, a group of landowners out there. And as we had developed initially three different alternatives for the project, the one that we ended up selecting is the one that the landowners preferred. It was one that minimized the amount of private land we needed to take, and particularly the higher value lands that were used for hay or alfalfa production. It's primarily grazing land on the northern part. It's predominantly wetland already. And so
none of it was the land that was agriculturally protected?
With the agricultural protection zone, it's all within there, yes. The final design we're moving ahead with for the Delta and River design. That portion, we have contract with All Red Restoration. All Red Restoration did the design work on the Middle Provo River and Heber Valley, has a lot of experience with these types of things. And they have a team of experts that are available to assist them. For the relocation of Harbor Drive, for the bridges, trails, pedestrian bridges, parking features, and so forth, that's going to A&E contracting firm, and that's currently out right now through a contract the Bureau of Reclamation has. They compete that among previously selected contractors, and so it's in that phase right now. We'll include in that element a lot of public involvement, because this aspect of the project is especially going to address the future condition of the existing Provo River channel. And we want to have some additional feedback from landowners and users regarding that. We think there's the potential to improve, for example, access down to the water's edge through that reach. If many of you have been along that parkway, you know that in many locations the slopes are quite steep. It's a pretty difficult prospect for particularly young kids to get on down to the edge of the river to fish or whatever. So we think there's a potential for some improvements along that line. And also we want to incorporate some educational opportunities with trails and kiosks. Yes?
So do you have a group that you're already working with that you meet regularly, or is this will just be public hearing type meetings?
We have a group of cooperating agencies that helped us with the EIS, and we're continuing to meet with those. We just started a few weeks ago with our first meeting.
Yeah, I'm meeting with the residents that you were saying that you were going to have.
Yes.
Residents that were working on those cases.
Right. We will include public announcements for people to participate as well. We know of several interested parties in the area. Benjamin Allen, for example. He owns the ropes class course there along the Provo River, and he's been very involved in the last couple of years with us on the landowner group and so forth. So he's obviously a key person. The campground that's located down there adjacent to the river, another one, and certainly all the adjacent landowners, but the general public too. Yeah. Yes.
With the aeration system, is there potential for swimming in that area once it's done?
I guess we would leave that up to state water quality or whomever. I don't know how they currently classify the river.
Inwood, welcome to get in with the
Yeah. The water quality should improve, yes. Yeah.
Related to that, we are very interested in, would prioritize Provo River impairments to really work on over the next 5 years. So
okay.
Hopefully a combination of your treatments and our work to reduce sources will
Yeah, that would be
improve
great.
water quality.
We worked with Hillary, I think she's moved on now.
She has, yeah.
Worked with Hillary a lot, look forward to working with new people. And so, yeah, the aeration, that will be going out to contract later this year. That's probably going to be one of the things that gets constructed towards the end of the project after we have the ability to reduce flow in that section so that construction can be accomplished. The diversion structure is going to be designed and constructed through the Central Utah Water Conservancy District. And obviously they have expertise and experience in that field, and so they're working together with us on that. The downstream dam and the new berm that will establish the south boundary of the Delta area, those are being designed by the Bureau of Reclamation. Again, they're a partner with us through the June Sucker program, and they, of course, have a lot of experience in that type of work as well. Follow up with agencies. As I mentioned, we held a meeting a couple of weeks ago, invited all these parties. Once we really get our full team on board. We'll be starting to have monthly or bi-weekly meetings where all the operators are invited to participate, get caught up on progress and so
What
forth.
is SHPO?
State Historic Preservation Office. And so with Provo City and Utah
Historic
County
Preservation
both,
Focus.
quite a number of things we need to follow up on with them, and we've engaged in discussions with the state, Department of Natural Resources, and also several divisions of them, wildlife, parks and recreation, forestry, fire, and state lands are all groups that we've coordinated with and will continue. The State Historic Preservation Office, that's also someone or an organization we have a programmatic agreement with right now regarding any cultural or historic artifacts that might be encountered out in the area as we implement the project. Division of Water Quality. Corps of Engineers, of course, they've already been mentioned this morning in some other contexts, but we also will have to work with Corps of Engineers to obtain approval to move the project forward. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, of course, the project is being done primarily to benefit an endangered species, which is under their jurisdiction, and they've been a cooperator all along too. Federal Aviation Administration and Wildlife Services Division, we have an MOA that we're completing right now with those organizations, including Provo City Airport. The Bureau of Reclamation, I mentioned they're involved with us as the design entity for the berm and the downstream dam, and they'll also be helping with some of the project construction work for the Delta restoration portion in the future. Lastly, down here, the Office of Valuation Services. That is the federal branch that's conducting the appraisal process for us. They don't actually do the appraisals, but they have to contract with independent appraisers that meet all of the requirements to do federal projects. And that's where we've been delayed. It's been very frustrating, but they've gone through some reorganization over the last year, and we got our information to them in June following our record of decision last year, and we still don't have contracts in place yet. But I did this week receive 5 statements of work from them to review, so they are in progress.
It's called progress.
Yes.
So when all of those contracts are in place and everything, and the work commences, what's the timeline for this?
Yeah, we hope to be able to complete land acquisition by the end of 2017 so that we could initiate construction in 2018. And we're anticipating approximately a 3-year construction effort, depending on, some areas won't be under construction for that whole time. But before we get finished with the project, we're looking at another 5 years before it's complete and on the ground. Yes.
Mark, can you send the commission the slides? I know we're going to have questions from members of the community. It'd be nice to have something to go back to.
Sure, I'd be glad to.
Thank you. Good.
And as well, either myself or other members of the team are available. We'll be happy to come out and visit with your organization or your community and so forth to talk about the project. It's been a long time in the planning process. We're excited about moving forward. We're really anxious. And I feel the pain or frustration that some of the landowners are experiencing. It's been 5 years so far, and let's get on with it. And I feel the same way. And hopefully by the end of the summer we'll have the ability to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Do we have one on water quality assessment?
I didn't bring a computer, I just brought a little cheap drive.
Pull the mouse out. Yes.
top.
They're explaining it. Federal computers, we have all these
Yes.
security things. It may not accept a non-government jump drive, I'm sorry.
Can we get Apple to come and see if we can open that up?
Yeah. As soon as they get the phone done for the folks in Fresno, right?
While he's doing that, maybe I can just update the commission on a few,
Real quick. Hi there, my name is Carl Adams, work with Eric in Division Water Quality, and while we're getting the technical difficulties figured out, I brought down some neat USB storage devices, but they have a website on them with a great overview of the new website. We're working in conjunction with the USU extension on the Utah Clean Water Partnership website. And so I'd like to pass these out if I may. And if you do not care for one, you don't have to take one, but I think it's a great website. A lot of information on water quality issues, both within Utah County and statewide, and other contact information. I encourage you guys, I'll do a little demonstration of how they work. Kind of pop open the end of it with the, and it goes, one way. Doesn't go both ways. It just opens one way. Put that in the USB port, and it'll bring up the website and all the videos we have of projects throughout the state, water quality improvement projects that we've done in cooperation with all of our partner agencies and individual landowners. And so please check that out. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. So I'll try and be quick. I know you guys need to get out of here by 9 o'clock. For those of you that I haven't met, my name is Erica Gaddis. I replaced John Whitehead as Assistant Director of Division of Water Quality. Walt sends his regrets. He's in Washington, D.C. this week at the Western States Water Council meeting. I want to let the Commission know a couple of quick things. We've have some changes within our division. Hillary Ahrens has left the division, is no longer with us. She was the watershed coordinator for Utah Lake. So we're working on replacing her. In the meantime, her supervisor, Carl Adams, who manages the watershed protection section, is our primary contact for Utah Lake related questions and projects. I'd also like to introduce Jake Vanderlyn, who's sitting next to Carl. He's our new lake assessment coordinator. So he's come on in August, came to us from Utah State University, great background in lake science. So he'll be a great help to you if you have questions about water quality in Utah Lake. Today what I'd like to do is this is a little bit premature to be quite frank with you, but we wanted to make sure you're aware of our integrated report that will be coming out in April or May. We'll have a 30-day public comment period. We would have preferred to come brief you on this report during that public comment period, but that doesn't quite line up with the commission meetings. So I want to make you aware of this report and some of our findings with respect to Utah Lake, so that when it does come, we'll make sure you get the notification when it goes out for public comment. You'll have an opportunity and kind of understand the background of what we're doing. So every 2 years, we're required to report out, as part of our delegated authority from EPA, we have to provide a report to Congress on the state of Utah's waters. We call it our integrated report. It's a big job. We're reporting out on over 16,000 miles of rivers and streams and 500,000 acres of lakes and wetlands. And so it's a big job. We do it every 2 years. We actually just finalized our 2014 integrated report. And in that effort, what we do is we go around, look at our data from the last 5 or 10 years and compare it to our water quality standards for particular uses. This just gives you a summary of, this didn't transfer very well, of the different categories. So we're required to put every water body that we assess in the state into one of these 5 categories. So category 1 means it's supporting all of its uses, the water quality is supporting all of its uses. 2 is similar to 1, it just may mean that we can't assess every single use. 3 is our largest category where we don't quite have sufficient data to make a decision either way whether the water body is supporting or not supporting its beneficial uses. Category 4 is where we know we have water quality problems, but we have controls in place and plans to start to remediate those. And then category 5 are our waters where we're not supporting beneficial uses. And this is a map that just shows you what the 2014 assessment looks like. This is all on our website. It's been released relatively recently, the 2014 integrated report, finally approved by EPA just a couple of months ago. So you can go on here. The watersheds that are highlighted in red are those that are in that category 5, not supporting one or more beneficial uses in the state. I'm going to kind of go through this quickly because I know we're short on time. So when we assess Utah Lake, we're assessing for these 4 different beneficial uses. The recreational use, right now Utah Lake is designated, protected for infrequent primary contact recreation. That designation was made in the 1970s when the primary recreational uses on the lake were boating and fishing. We're exploring with Forestry, Fire, and State Lands and state parks and some of the other stakeholders whether it would be appropriate to change that use to a 2A, which protects also for primary or frequent primary contact recreation. That includes things like water skiing, swimming, paddle boarding, where people are more likely to be in contact with the water more frequently. We think that's probably appropriate given the way the lake's being used today.
How long would that take to change that?
It's relatively straightforward. We make it to our water quality board.
I would just point out the key difference between the 2 uses.
E. coli, yeah. So right now, the only difference in standards between our uses is the E. coli number that we use for assessment. So anyway, that's sort of a side story that we're exploring. So we also assess the lake for the warm water aquatic life use, the fishery use. It's also protected for 3D for some of the avian, for birds, and then for agricultural uses. We have different standards, different parameters we look at for each of these different uses. So it's a big job. For Utah Lake, we for this particular 2016 integrated report that will be coming out here in a month or so, we looked at over 150 unique samples at 8 different sites throughout the lake. We've assessed water chemistry for nutrients, ammonia, total dissolved solids, chlorophyll A, and temperature, dissolved oxygen, pH. And then what we're adding this cycle that we haven't done previously, primarily because we haven't had sufficient data, is an assessment of the algal issues in Utah Lake. So in addition to our numeric standards, which are where we have a number that you're not supposed to exceed for a particular use, we're also required to assess our waters based on our narrative standard. The narrative standard, I won't read it all out to you, but there are particular elements of the narrative standard that we can assess with the data that we have available to us today. And so we've broken that down for, I just want to focus on the recreational use today because I think it's the finding that it will be of most interest to this group, especially hearing how much interest there is in recreating around Utah Lake today. So 2 parts within our narrative standard that we think apply to our recreational use protection. One is we don't allow for undesirable human health effects, and the narrative standard also prohibits unnatural deposits of floating debris, oil, scum, or other nuisances such as color, odor, or taste. So we're interpreting that narrative standard in this cycle through some of our harmful algal bloom data, and there's some particular benchmarks that we use to make that analysis. So the primary indicator that we're using is the concentration of cyanobacteria. Those are the toxin-producing algae species that can form in Utah Lake. And then we're supporting that with 2 other lines of evidence. So we do have some data on cyanotoxins in Utah Lake. Our biggest data set, however, is a chlorophyll A data set, which basically just gives you a measurement of how much algae in total there is in Utah Lake. The guidelines that we're using for our assessment come from the World Health Organization and are supported by the Environmental Protection Agency. We adopted the high level there, so anything over 100,000 cells per milliliter, over 20 micrograms per liter of microcystin, which is the toxin, or over 50 micrograms per liter of chlorophyll A would indicate a human health risk, a high human health risk. So we're using that pretty high bar. We may want to explore in the future something maybe more protective at the moderate level. For this first cycle, we're using that.
You mentioned E. coli as the difference between the two designations. Does this also change with the change in designation?
We're applying this to both 2A and 2B for this reporting cycle. We may get public comment on that application, so moving to a 2A designation. Although I should say that although it's only designated as 2B, under the Clean Water Act, we're required to protect for existing uses, even if they're not on the books. You can make an argument that people are swimming and water skiing and paddleboarding in Utah Lake. I don't think that's a very difficult case to make, so we think it's appropriate to apply these. So the data that we have primarily for the harmful algal blooms come from that October 2014 bloom. We know we've had blooms in the past. We don't have data that line up with those particular benchmarks from past blooms. So we have data from the lake outlet, from Linden Harbor, and from Utah State Park Harbor that all exceeded that 100,000 cells per milliliter. So I know there's been some discussion about that it was very isolated at Linden Harbor, but the data show that that bloom had high concentrations all the way to the lake outlet, which is a real concern to us going into the Jordan River. That first section of the Jordan River is protected for drinking water. Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District uses some of that water for drinking water. So we're concerned about that particular sample site. Just to give you a sense of that data, these are all of the samples that were collected during the 2014 bloom, and you can see the 5 that exceeded the 100,000. Now, again, if you looked at the 20,000, we may, or the 5,000, which are those other tiers, we may have had more, but we're sticking with a pretty high bar here. We don't want to alarm the public in any way unnecessarily. So some of our supporting data relate to cyanotoxins. We detected levels of 3 different cyanotoxins during that bloom: microcystin, which is a liver toxin, anatoxin A, which is a neurotoxin, and cylindrospermoxin, and I can't remember if that's a liver or neurotoxin. Doesn't matter. The concentrations weren't very high for that third toxin. So the microcystin concentrations that we measured in Linden Marina exceeded that, at least one of them exceeded that 20 microgram per liter concentration. We have a lot more data on chlorophyll A. This is something we collect regularly as part of our normal monitoring process. So the cyanobacteria numbers and the cyanotoxins are pretty isolated to that event. That was a very targeted monitoring effort. The chlorophyll A is something we have. So this is not as good of an indicator of toxicity, but we have a lot more data. So we're using it as a supporting line of evidence. About 55% of the data exceed, Jake, is that a 10 or a 20? 10 microgram per liter threshold, and 19% of the data, and this is throughout the lake, exceed the 50 microgram per liter that the World Health Organization has identified as a threshold where we have a real concern for human health. Between the 10 and 50, there's a lot of literature that talks about aesthetics and the recreational experience out on the lake. Various states have selected benchmarks between that 10 and 50 number. We're not prepared to do that just yet here in Utah. We'd like to do a site-specific user survey to figure out what sorts of algal concentrations people are bothered by or not before we take that line of evidence. So we're sticking with just the human health story for now.
That's a quick question. How often do you test?
We go out every summer, and we go out at least 4 times during the summer, maybe more. You guys correct
At
me.
those sites that you
At
showed
those
us?
sites. Utah Lake's one of the most heavily monitored.
Okay, so 4 times during the summer at all those sites?
At 9 sites, yeah. Now, we don't do the cyanotoxins and cyanobacteria. Those are very expensive, and so we've limited those to where we see a bloom that we think we need to monitor for particular public health. So anyway, those 3 lines of evidence, the cyanobacteria concentrations, the cyanotoxin presence, and the chlorophyll A numbers have caused us to feel the need to list the water, put it in category 5 as not supporting its recreational uses. And I know that will raise some concerns, but given some of the things that have been happening in other parts of the country, as a state agency, we have this data in our hands and pretty clear benchmarks we feel it's important to to make that decision.
How long have you been collecting this data, like what's your historical
So that we've been, decades.
Quite a while. This particular data is 2008 to 2014.
Yeah, so for each integrated report, we look at 6 years back.
And
So all of these data are from the last 6
Have you
years.
yet seen any changes since we've been working on the Phragmites and working on the carp and removal and all of those kinds of things?
Not in water quality. But that's something that, so trends, so when we put it in category 5, one thing we haven't yet decided is whether we'll call it threatened or impaired. And that trending is an important piece of that decision. So we're still working on that and we'll come back to it.
But your last sampling was in 2014.
Oh, no, we sampled last year
Okay,
as well.
but your data that you're
The cyanobacteria bloom that we sampled was in 2014.
2014.
But we
Have
do
you
have chlorophyll data.
have you had any blooms since 2014?
We didn't have any blooms last year, which was great.
In 2014 is the one where the dog died.
There were 2 dog deaths that some have tied to that event. We're not even using that line of evidence because I know there's controversy around whether that was really connected or not. But the data by itself exceed the World Health Organization numbers for human health risk. Now it's a risk-based, those are risk-based thresholds. So we're not saying there is 100% certainty that if you go in the water when concentrations are at this level that you will get sick. But it's a high risk. So we feel it's important to make that clear in our integrated report. Just a couple other quick slides. We also assessed all of those 9 sites for ammonia, for all of our numeric criteria. There's 2 that pop out and will be new listings for utility. Ammonia in Provo Bay, that site there is Provo Bay. You can see it really jumps out in terms of concentrations from the sites throughout the rest of the lake. Ammonia is something we worry about for aquatic life, especially early life stages of aquatic life. So some of the need to protect fish in the lake. So this would be an impairment of the aquatic life. What we are going to do though is split Provo Bay from the rest of the lake so that that impairment is isolated just to Provo Bay and we don't call the whole of Utah Lake impaired for that particular parameter. Same with pH, we see frequent exceedances of our pH standards in Provo Bay. So again, we'll separate that analysis and that assessment from the rest of the lake. So we won't be making any new statements about aquatic life for the rest of Utah Lake. It will be isolated to Provo Bay. So 7 out of our 19 profiles. The way we collect pH data is a little different. I won't go into that here. But, exceed. And we look for 10% exceedance to trigger an impairment. So 7 out of 19 is a pretty clear demonstration. So just a quick summary. We already have listings on Utah Lake for total dissolved solids for our agricultural use protection and total phosphorus. We'll maintain those listings in the 2016 integrated report. The new listings will be based on, for our recreational use, for harmful algal blooms under our narrative standard, and then 2 new listings under numeric specific to Provo Bay for ammonia and pH. And you might be most interested in the implications of all of this. So I just wanted to let you know what those are, and we welcome conversations. I've tried to make phone calls to all of the dischargers to Utah Lake, and haven't made contact with all of them just yet. So first, there will be no immediate changes to any permits as a result of this decision. I want to make that really clear. Any changes related to nutrient reductions in permits would be done after the TMDL. So this listing would trigger a TMDL process, which has already been triggered under the others. So there's really no change with respect to our work on nutrient studies in Utah Lake. We'll continue to implement our new phosphorus effluent limit rule, which requires all mechanical publicly owned treatment works to meet a phosphorus effluent limit of 1 milligram per liter by January 1st of 2020. No change in that, no change in the timeline, no change in anything. We'll continue our phase 1 of the Utah Lake water quality study that we kicked off last fall. And that's really to try and understand the nutrient dynamics in Utah Lake, how how they link to algal growth, and how those affect both aquatic life and recreational uses. So that effort is on track and will continue as planned. The one new thing is that we have a plan to increase our monitoring of harmful algal blooms, not just in Utah Lake, but around the state. This is an issue that's coming up more and more across the country, and we just want to make sure, especially for human health related issues that were being protected and that we're appropriately monitoring and reporting out to the public on any risks. So with that, I'm happy to take any other questions. We're just a few minutes past time. Apologies.
Thank you, Erica. Any questions?
Are there any things that can be done to mitigate some of those concerns?
Well, I mean, the elephant in the room is the nutrient loading to Utah Lake. So that's something we're looking at carefully as part of that study. But this listing provides additional rationale for us prioritizing the study that we identified for Utah Lake. We just went through a prioritization exercise. You saw how many waters we have on our impaired waters list. And we've prioritized any human health related impairments as kind of top priority for the division. So nutrient load reductions are the obvious, and those include point sources that come from municipal wastewater, industrial sources, agricultural runoff, stormwater runoff, natural background. So all of those need to be looked at.
But there's been some significant reductions in that over the last couple of decades in Utah Lake, have there not been?
I don't know about that. I mean,
Well, Geneva Steel, I'm saying.
yeah, although Geneva Steel wasn't a big source of
That was not.
nutrients.
Okay.
Not of nutrients. There were other great improvements as a result of that discharge going away. But the growth in Utah County is really of concern to us as
Population growth?
as we continue to grow, the waste, I mean, the
So
amount
out
of
of the
wastewater
wastewater
will
plants?
increase, yeah.
From just the wastewater?
From the wastewater plants. But there's also non-point sources from stormwater, and as growth continues, we'll have to, really keep an eye on that and agricultural runoff as well. So it's something we're not prepared yet to make any new changes in anyone's permits. We had already planned to look at that through this study that could result in a TMDL.
I would expect that we would be interested in attempting to look at some of those issues and attempt to mitigate them rather than to have a problem that we use.
It'd be really difficult to, there are, for drinking water reservoirs, there are some kind of technologies out there where you can try to kill algae. And the trouble with these toxic algal species is that once they bloom and once they're there, the best way to limit them is one of the facts. So you can limit them through light, you can limit them through nutrients, the food they need, and mixing. So it's tough.
Part of what I'm thinking though is Santaquin has just gone through some efforts specifically with their wastewater plant to do something different rather than just discharging.
Yeah.
And, are there those kinds of measures that we ought to be looking
Well,
at?
I mean, there's plenty of wastewater technology that can be implemented to
Thank you.
reduce
That's
nutrients.
what I wanted to hear.
Absolutely. I mean, this 1 milligram per liter rule that we put in was adopted in most of the eastern states in the 1980s. So it's been implemented for years. The best treatment technology that's applied here in Utah is up in the Park City area, and they get down to concentrations below 0.1 milligrams per liter of phosphorus. We're asking treatment plants to get down to 1. A typical discharge that doesn't try to reduce nutrients can be anywhere between 1 and 3 right now. So we'll see, we think we'll see a pretty significant reduction in nutrient loading through our phosphorus rule. We'd like to see how that plays out before we make any more decisions.
I'm just thinking we want to begin discussions earlier rather than later.
Absolutely. And we have regular.
If we think that that's moving in that direction, we ought to be working with the other side of it actively.
I'd be happy to collaborate with the POTWs and come back to the commission with some kind of brief you guys on each different treatment plant has varying levels, different kinds of technology, and is able to treat nutrients at different levels today. So if you guys are interested in that, it would be POTWs represent our technical committee.
I think we're attempting to improve the lake so it can be used. We don't want it to not be usable.
That's what we're hoping for.
So
we're hoping the commission will support it.
How does your phosphorus level interface with SB 110?
Okay, so SB 110, for those that don't know, is the legislation that was passed this year for peer review that allows any permittee from the Division of Water Quality to challenge any decision we make through a scientific peer review process. It's unclear to me whether this decision is peer reviewable under that legislation. One of the triggers is that it would cost a permittee something, and a listing decision by itself doesn't trigger any sort of new, TMDL would, and those are clearly under that challenge. So we expect we probably will get a challenge to this decision. We're not afraid to put it out for peer review. We feel pretty confident in our data and in our science. So if it probably is to our benefit to go ahead and put it through a scientific peer review in any case.
And I apologize to Representative
No,
McHale.
that's a good question.
But I didn't know if you had any follow-up questions, or I was wondering what it would cost, what the financial implications are on your phosphorus rule by 2020.
The phosphorus rule for 2020, I'm afraid to give you a quote of a number. We have a very detailed cost study that gets it down to each individual treatment plant. The average cost to people will be on the order of $1 a month in their sewer bill. That's statewide average. I can bring back to you the cost analysis for Utah Lake, for Utah County residents, if you'd like.
Well, it might, if there's a follow-up, I don't mean to take a lot of time here, but there are some significant financial implications in addition to and as I understood it, they were in addition to the $1 a household per month, but.
So should we go below the 1 milligram per liter, there could be need to overhaul some of the treatment plants in the valley, certainly, and that would be a much larger cost implication. But we're not there yet. So the phosphorus rule by itself is around $1.
And Chris, I think to answer your question, I think some of those rules certainly could be challenged under the bill. I know with Senator Heekins in the Senate, I carried the bill in the House, and if there is a cost to our treatment facilities, our treatment facilities, my reading of what we passed is certainly there could be some challenges. We looked at the bill, I think that had broader implication to the municipal water providers and providers like you. And I think all of those rules could be challenged and peer reviewed.
Although the bill does exclude our phosphorus rule specifically, that's not challengeable under that new legislation. However, variance requests to get out of our rule, because we have several ways in which to get out of our rule, those variance requests are open for challenge. Our decisions on those variance requests would be open to challenge under that peer review legislation. And we would welcome that. We don't want to do bad science, so we're just happy to put things out for peer review.
Do we have representatives from the POTWs on the technical committee? Are you?
I'm the POTW manager for Spanish Fork.
Okay, and you're on the technical. Great.
On technical board too. I think we ought to go out to non-point sources of farmers and ranchers produce more than we do. We can't control.
Yeah. We've launched a subgroup of the technical committee, and at our November 10th meeting, I think there were more people there than there were in the whole technical. I think we had 50 people come, and all of the POTWs were represented there. So we're involving them in this Phase 1 Utah Lake water quality study as much as we possibly can.
All right, thank you for that report, Erica. I remind the board that our next meeting is June 23rd, followed by August 25th, and please note that the November meeting is November 17th, because we didn't want to schedule it on Thanksgiving. So those are your 3 next governing board meetings. Are there any general comments from board members and the public?
Please grab a snack before you there's donuts and bagels.
I have one comment. On June 4th, after you go down to Utah Lake to the festivities, that night in Spanish Fork, we do have the Champions Challenge Rodeo. I know Larry will be there, and you're all welcome to come down.
Will he be riding?
And it is the best rodeo.
Top 10 in the world.
It really is. It is the best run and the best talent.
And it's televised live
place.
across the nation.
Wow.
So
that's impressive.
Again, I guess I'll just leave it to the Lehigh Rodeo alone there.
Noelia bought us all some treats there at the table. Please take something as you leave, otherwise Eric will have to have them in his lunch for the next 3 weeks. He doesn't need them. Remind you again, we will meet again on June 23rd. Thank you. We will stand adjourned.
Eric, location for the back.
Thanks for the way you conducted me.
Back.
Kind of got on a little bit. That was good. It was good. Appreciate your help, Robin. Thanks very much. You're very kind. Because your shadow is so large, nobody really knows. Let's see, I've got a contract to sign here.
Robin,
Noelia.
special for me. Well, you know, these other guys, you don't think legislators have to have the last word. The day of our next meeting is the night of our rodeo. Oh, we should have mentioned that. We will that day. There you go.
Perfect. For every time. During the